This lesson right here is the flower, and we're going to use an array tool for the first time. All right. So let's start off by drawing the middle of our flower. We're going to start off with a sphere. Okay. Instead of using the top or front view, let's use the left side view down here to draw your sphere. All right. Size of the sphere doesn't matter, but let's go ahead and make the segments 200. That's going to make it very smooth. Okay. But what we do want to do right here is we want to cut our sphere in half. We want to use halves of it. So I'm going to type in zero point 0.5 where it says hemisphere. Okay. When you do that, it's going to see it gives us half of our actual hemisphere. And we can change this. If I took this arrow and I went more or less, but I want to use zero point 0.5. Okay. I'm going to call this sphere middle. All right. This is going to be the middle of our flower right here. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do in this view is I'm going to draw a box. Okay. So we'll go over here to box. I want my length, my width segments to all be 5. And my height segments, length, width, and height, let's make them all 5 for what we're about to do here. All right. And I'm going to draw a box. All right, let's see here. We want this to look a little more like this. So I'm going to modify this box, make it thinner. And I'll bring it over here to the middle. Okay. And this is what we want. This is kind of the view that we want right here. All right. And this is going to be one flower petal. So I'm going to type in this box. Let's call it petal. All right. Now, what we want to do here is we need to modify this flower petal. All right. So it doesn't look just like a box. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it is centered. All right. And then I'm going to right click it. All right. Select it. I'm going to right click it. I'll convert this to an editable poly. And I'm going to choose the vertices. Okay. And what I want to make sure is I want to make sure that my vertices in the back are also selected. So I chose back facing. Yours may say ignore back facing. If it says ignore back facing, do not check it. Make sure ignore back facing is not checked because we want to use all of the vertices at one time. All right. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to manipulate this to look like a flower petal. And I guess if I wanted to, I could use soft selection to do this as well. Okay. So I could grab this, increase my fall off for soft selection. All right. And then kind of create the shape of a flower petal. Okay. So there I kind of created a shape of a flower petal. If yours doesn't look exactly like that, it's fine. It's okay. Because what we're going to do is going to make sure that everybody's is kind of unique. Okay. So let's go ahead and call this one's petal. We named it that. All right. We'll come out of editable mesh. All right. Now, the one thing we do want to do is we want to change how we rotate this flower petal. Okay. And we have to do that in the hierarchy. So I click on hierarchy and I click on affect pivot point. And the pivot point for this petal is actually in the spot where I want it. You want to bring your pivot point down so it's at the very bottom. We want our flower to pivot from right here. Okay. And the reason we want to pivot from there is because we want it to rotate from that point. And that's what the pivot point does. I'm actually going to bring my flower up a little bit more, but I still want the pivot point to be located in the middle of my flower. Okay. So now I've moved my pivot point down here by changing under hierarchy. All right. And if I rotate this flower, that's where it's going to rotate from. And that's why we want to do it that way. Okay. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to use a tool called an array tool. And when we use the array tool, it's going to allow us to make several copies of this flower petal, um, rotate around the middle so we don't have to try to duplicate it on our own. Okay. So I'm gonna click on that tool, or I'm gonna click on the flower petal. I'm gonna go up to tools, click on array. Okay. And now it's gonna ask me, do I want to rotate, move, or scale? I want to rotate. All right. And so I want to rotate 360 degrees. And down here, it's going to ask me how many petals counts do I want? So I'm going to click preview. All right, that gives me 10. But what if I want 11 or 12, 13, 14, 15? I'm going to use 15. I'm going to click OK. And what that did is, you can see over here, it gave me 15 flower petals. And there I've created my flower face. Okay, circle in the middle, and my flowers arrayed all around the circle. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and save this file, save as, and I'm gonna save it on a folder that I've already created called Digital Design and Animation, and I'm gonna call it the flower.